And Donald Trump may be having his worst week yet. And I know I keep saying that, but the weeks just keep getting worse. Now, for example, new numbers from Hurricane Maria have upset his narrative that he did an A-plus job on that recovery effort, and that it was an unsung success, tremendous success. Now, that's important context because right now we have a hurricane that is basically lashing the coast of North and South Carolina. And it could be one of the deadliest storms that we've seen there, at least this year. So, oh boy. And of course, everybody in that area, please stay safe. Now, not just that, Bob Woodward's book also came out, and it's doing fantastic. In fact, Woodward's new book, Fear, has sold more than 750,000 copies, and it's on its way to a ninth printing. And now you also have a CNN poll released this week about Donald Trump's approval rating. What happened there? Well, it is now down to 36%. Ouch. You also have congressional Republicans that are gearing up for a bloodbath in the midterms. They are not happy about their possibilities in the midterms. It has gotten so bad, especially in the White House, that even Ivanka Trump is worried about impeachment. It's just horrible, quote, according to a former White House official. All of that now has a president who is increasingly angry, bitter, and alone. In fact, he has no more allies left, save for one. And you're going to love who that is. But first, I'm going to go to Gabriel Sherman, who writes in Vanity Fair, quote, Trump has been furious at former economic advisor Gary Cohn and staff secretary Rob Porter for their apparent cooperation with Woodward's book. Trump thinks he took Gary in and gave him a job when he was going nowhere at Goldman. Going nowhere at Goldman, he was making a ton of money. But no, Gary, great guy. In fact, I want to bring him in, and this is from an excerpt from that book, by the way. A fascinating story. So they brought in Gary Cohn to try to figure out what job they want him to do, and he had tried to get him to do about 5 different jobs, including Treasury Secretary. Well, they already picked Steven Mnuchin for Treasury Secretary, and he was in the meeting with Cohn, and he's like, you know what? I think I picked the wrong guy. You'd be a tremendous Treasury Secretary. In fact, why don't you go and why don't you think about it and you get back to me, okay? 5 minutes later, Mnuchin leaked to the press and said, I'm the new Treasury Secretary. Cohn didn't even leave the building before it was announced that he was the new Treasury Secretary, that Mnuchin was. That's an insane story. And of course, Cohn stealing documents off Trump's desk, and the rest being the so-called adults in the room to try to keep Donald Trump from acting on his worst impulses. So that's what's going on there. Now, of course, those excerpts in that book got Trump riled up, especially against Porter and Gary Cohn, who later on was like, oh, no, that's not what happened at all. No. In fact, according to the advisor, Trump let it be known to Cohn and Porter that he would attack them publicly if they didn't disavow the book. And of course, they did, because they're betas. Now, a former West Wing official, told Sherman, quote, the president has had it. When books like this come out, he tends to shut down and calls up people he sees on TV saying good things about him. Because that's exactly what happens. Because he's a very stable genius. Sherman continues. Trump's anger over Woodward's book is dwarfed by his continuing fixation on the anonymous New York Times op-ed. Now, sources told me that Trump is obsessed, lathered, and freaked out that the leaker is still in his midst. His son, Don Jr., has told people he's worried that Trump isn't sleeping because of it. Oh, great. So now you have Trump, who's having major insomnia because of this op-ed. No, that's a Great mix. He's already volatile. He's already likely mental. And now he's getting no sleep. Great. Now, not only that, chaos continues. Meetings have been derailed by Trump's suspicion. Quote, if you look at him the wrong way, you'll spend the next hour thinking you wrote it, a Republican close to the White House said. Much of what's fueling Trump's paranoia is that he has no clear way to identify the author. So he trusts no one. He's paranoid. He's not sleeping. He's making rash decisions. He's basically Nixon at this point. Now, one advisor has said that Trump has instructed aides to call the anonymous author a, quote, coward in public to shame him or her. A person close to Trump said, he's going to continue to shame this person. The author will break under pressure or will eventually say, fuck it, it's me. Plans to administer polygraph tests to staff had seemingly died, but of course they were reported earlier. A former official said, quote, nobody knows who it is. No, I think everybody knows who it is inside of the White House. Because it's basically all of them. They all feel the same way. But here's the thing that's not going to happen. So the person is not going to be shamed into coming out and saying, okay, it's me. They're not going to reveal themselves until Donald Trump is gone. And then, here's the cynical power play. They will then come out and say, it was me. I was the adult in the room. I tried to put a stop to Trump for the good of the republic. And they become an instant hero. Book deals, everything. So, of course, they're not going to come out now when they're going to be the most vilified. But if you come out later, say, if Trump gets removed from office, which is still, of course, speculation, and mostly not likely, but of course, if he loses in 2020, somehow gets out of office, either way, or resigns, there's a bunch of different possibilities. Then this person, it's going to take a little while, and then they're going to come out later on and be like, you know who wrote the op-ed? It was me. It was me. I was just looking out for the country. And then, of course, that person, who's probably a terrible person to begin with, because there are no good people in the White House, is going to be venerated as a hero. So, with no one that he can trust, where does Trump go? Well, he's got one option left. Other than family, of course. One of the only people Trump continues to trust is none other than Stephen Miller. The worst person in the White House, arguably worse than Trump. And that takes a lot. Now, the op-ed has actually validated Miller's view, Sherman writes, which was also Steve Bannon's, that there is an administrative state out to get Trump, according to a Republican close to the White House. There is a coup, and it's not slow rolling or concealed, Bannon told him. Trump believes there is a coup, a person familiar with his thinking said. Trump's relationship with Secretary of Defense James Mattis, which was already strained, has also become non-existent, according to a former official. So, there's a lot of interesting information in this. If it's true. And look, Sherman hasn't really seemed to have been wrong. Everybody in the White House, pretty much, except for apparently Stephen Miller, despises the president and is only there to watch over him. Again, I think it's the more establishment Republicans that are still there. Mattis might be one of them. Now, Mattis, by the way, again, to talk about their frayed relationship, has a new nickname, Moderate Dog. Only in this administration can somebody whose nickname was Mad Dog Mattis be not crazy enough for Trump. He calls him Moderate Dog. Wow. But the overall point here is you've got a whole bunch of terrible people in the White House that are actually doing a service to the country, only because it is so messed up there. Except, of course, for the worst person of all, Stephen Miller. I absolutely loved it when his family came out and put him on blast. Like, Hey, Steven, your family is full of immigrants as well. Maybe you should not be such a douche. Again, he's the guy who creams his pants over caging immigrant children. That is the last person, I should say, Donald Trump in the White House trusts. If that doesn't go to the character of Donald Trump, I don't know what else does. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.